Trick Digital Podcast, and here we're going to be talking about the hero's journey, in particular, stage 6, and that is stage 6 of all of those stages, according to Joseph Campbell, and also as adapted by Vogler when it comes to Hollywood productions and screenplays, fiction, any creative work that you have. And if you need some assistance, of course, get in touch with me because I have the Hero's Journey worksheet, which will give you structure and I can coach you through how to get that productive and creative work out there. I know you've been thinking about it for a long time, and now is the time. So that's quote Ian Hunter once again. Stage 6 of the hero's journey tests allies and enemies. It's within this unknown that the protagonist faces many tests and meets their allies and enemies. So 3 points. Number 1, tests. Within the hero's journey structure, this stage is a vital part of your protagonist's journey. Conflict is everything. Without conflict, there's no story arc, and no character exploration. So while this is a stage represented in every hero's structure application, it's also a necessary component to any story that you tell, using the hero's journey structure or not. Your story doesn't merely entail a character dealing with a single conflict. So, as we're analyzing Burning America in the best interest of the children, if you don't have a copy, once the episode is over, doesn't mean it's required, but it's certainly helpful because we're analyzing Burning America based on the hero's journey. Tests. Paul has an obvious test. How does he get his daughter returned to the family home? But is that it? No. He has to navigate the custody court, the machinations of the legal system, and the ongoing tests to endure dealing with each one of these barriers. Think about famous films and well-known scenes where you see this. In Jaws, we learn that the core concept of film centers around a killer shark that unleashes chaos on a beach community as a local chief of police, marine biologist, and old seafarer hunt down the beast before it kills again. But the movie is so much more than that. Brody, the chief of police, has to deal with multiple conflicts within the story. He has to ascertain what exactly is threatening the island community. He's forced to go up against the local mayor and town board, all of whom don't want their precious tourism profits to be affected. When the shark kills a young boy after Brody is pressured to tone down the response as a possible threat, he faces the scorn of the boy's mother and the guilt of not doing as much as he could to prevent the tragedy. When he's on the boat, ready to hunt down the shark, he's put through multiple tests to achieve his ultimate goal and face the core conflict of the story. Bonus, I'll always send you these scenes, so get in touch with me and I'll show you where exactly this happens. Your protagonist must face multiple and evolving conflicts or tests throughout the second act to engage the reader and audience, to keep them invested in the journey. And these tests are what define your protagonist's character arc as they deal with everything that is thrown at them within the narrative. The characterization within your story relies on these tests because the actions, reactions, and inactions of your protagonist will show us what kind of character you want to portray. And this stage also sets the rules of this special world that they're forced to exist within as they take on the conflict. So within your stories, whether you follow all 12 stages that I've defined as the hero's journey above or not, the tests that you make your protagonist face need to be aplenty and present on multiple narrative levels, big and small. That's the core of any great story, and it's what keeps people invested, engaged, compelled. 2, allies. Along the tests that your protagonist faces, they're going to need some help along the way. That's where introducing allies comes into play. So in Burning America, initially, both of Paul's attorneys seem like allies. How reliable they are and how long they last, though, will be questionable. However, Paul's family, mom, dad, and sister, will prove to be reliable allies. And that's up for the reader to decide. What about the Catron character? What do you think? In Jaws, as Brody struggles to deal with all these conflicts that he must face, he has to reach out for help from allies. This introduces 2 key allies in Hooper and Quint, the 2 men with varying degrees of experience, wisdom, and knowledge that will help Brody take on the core threat of the story. This stage of the hero's journey expands the cast of characters. While some novels or films focus solely on a single character, most great stories build an exciting cast of characters around the central protagonist. Imagine Jaws without Hooper and Quint. Having Brody jump on a boat to hunt for a shark on his own doesn't pack the narrative punch that we get with him having to learn from and deal with these two pivotal characters. The characterization would be drastically reduced without them. Bonus, I can show you that scene. We also see him interact with secondary characters like Brody's wife and his two sons. They are established as allies as well within his journey. Bonus, I'll send you that scene. Pairing your protagonist with allies expands your cast of characters and offers you an opportunity to explore characterization on multiple levels. Last but not least, 3. Enemies. With the mention of enemies, we come full circle within this hero's journey stage. Here, enemies are there to test the protagonist. They offer the necessary conflict that should be present within all stories. While allies give us, and the protagonist, hope, enemies challenge that hope and create a more enthralling plot. In Burning America in the Best Interest of the Children, it might seem obvious that Anne, Paul's wife, is an enemy. But is that it? What about the intriguing Selena character? What antagonistic role does she play? Many stories feature an antagonist, but Paul has at least two, Anne and Selena, not to mention enemies in the village court system and hostility that he needs to confront head on. Brody in Jaws isn't just dealing with a killer shark, he's dealing with a money-hungry mayor. Bonus, I can send you that scene. And standing behind that mayor is the town board. Without them challenging Brody, the story really wouldn't go anywhere. Brody would shut down the beach and no one would be in danger. But because they pressure him into keeping it open, more conflict and characterization ensues. Bonus, I'll send you that scene. Having additional enemies within your story isn't just about more bad guys trying to thwart the hero. It's about creating more and more conflict within the story. It doesn't matter what genre you're writing in. Horror stories need enemies, dramas need enemies, comedies need enemies. We need to see your protagonist go up against others. And enemies don't always have to be human characters either. They can be represented as forces of nature, reversals of fortune, and unfortunate events. Conflict is everything. It starts with the test your protagonist must face and comes full circle with the enemies putting them through those tests. The tests, allies, and enemies that your protagonist comes across defines the meat of your story. Without them, there is no story. They introduce the conflict, expand the cast of characters, and offer a more engaging and compelling narrative. If there's a single stage of the hero's journey that writers should utilize, the tests, allies, and enemies stage is the most vital to any great story. Now, if you have not gotten a hold of the worksheet for the hero's journey and any creative work you're doing, get in touch with me. Plus, you can also get the bonus scenes that I'm pointing these out so you can see for yourselves. I'm not just making it up. But there's 12 stages of the hero's journey. And until next time, that's it for the Doctor of Digital podcast. And if you have not gotten a copy of Burning America in the Best Interest of the Children, get in touch and you can see and understand the 12 stages of the hero's journey for yourself. Until next time, that's it for this, the Doctor of Digital, Deus Volt.